Hello, I'm Joseph Barber, and for today's horror mini review, we're going to be talking about 1 Hour Photo, a film from 2002 starring Robin Williams as the main character and pretty much the only real character. It's, first things first, it's sort of more of a psychological thriller than a horror, but I feel like in terms of genres, those distinctions are practically meaningless. Like Psycho, for example, is a classic horror film, Alfred Hitchcock 1960, but it could be viewed as a psychological thriller just the same. And I think oftentimes those sort of distinctions get quite muddled. So the reason I classify this as a horror is because I want to, because I feel like that's what it's going for, I guess. It tries to be quite put you on edge, I suppose. It tries to keep the main character's motivations mysterious and to sort of make it so you don't know how far he's willing to go. And to be honest, while watching this film, I expected it to get a lot more bloody at the end. I expected more of a falling down moment, I suppose, where everything goes to shit and William's character actually murders at least one person, maybe more. But that's not what it got. Instead, I got sort of more of an interesting character study. Someone who, well, could be seen as very creepy. He does some very odd things and has an obsession with having a real family that he doesn't actually have. In fact, in the final image of the film, we see basically a delusion that maybe he's convinced himself of. And there are a couple of other similar moments throughout the film where it almost seems like he believes he's actually part of this family, that he's basically just, he develops their photos. That's his job. That's what he does. But he inserts himself into it. He wants to believe that he can be loved, that he can be part of something when he's just not. He's alone. And we see this very much throughout the film. In fact, I think due to both the direction and the costuming, William's character feels very much apart from the rest of the world. In almost every scene he is in, he stands out. Not in like a positive way necessarily, but just he feels wrong, like a cutout, basically. And it reminds me a lot of actually of the Cable Guy, Jim Carrey's vehicle from I think it was the early '90s. I'd say '93 or '94, at a guess, which was another very dark take from a typically comedic actor. Although in that film he wasn't really playing the villain, he was just a weird guy. He was sort of villainous. He did some bad things, but and it was playing against type. And that feels like a very similar film to this, although The Cable Guy was much more of a comedy, whereas this is very much not. There's basically no comedy at all in the film. It's very serious. And it treats itself with a bit of gravitas, which is something I didn't expect as well. You see this especially in some of the carefully directed films of the main character developing photos and just sort of the camera movements throughout some of the scenes. They're actually quite pretty. Like, there's definitely a lot of effort that went into this film. But I think maybe because it subverts my expectations, or maybe it was just not what I was looking for, I didn't actually enjoy the film that much. It was well made. It was fine. It's just not something I'd be keen on rewatching, I suppose. And all the actors do a fine job. The kid is okay. I mean, he's a kid actor, so whatever. But ultimately, it just falls a bit flat for me. And I couldn't exactly put my finger on it. I think maybe it is just expecting something and getting something else and being disappointed that you didn't get what you really wanted. And what I wanted was a straight up horror film, maybe. And that might be the problem. But I think if you're looking for something more in the character study in like the recently released Joker, I guess it has some similarities to that, or like I said, Falling Down or The Cable Guy, it does well with what it tries to do. It's just I'm not sure what it's trying to do is particularly innovative or interesting. But ultimately, Williams does give a very good performance, and it is interesting to see So, at least in that aspect, maybe it is worth watching. That was my review of 1 Hour Photo. I hope you enjoyed it or have some comments about it. I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I hope you have a nice day or a nice night, depending on where you are. Ta.